Hi, I'm Danielle Dietrich, and today I'm going to talk to you about disadvantaged business enterprise summary suspension. What is that? That is not something that you hear a lot about. So that's why I wanted to log on it because I think it's something that's a little known and it is also in the revised regulations that came out in May. It's given maybe a little bit more teeth. So it's something that you should be aware of as you operate your DBE or if you obtain the DBE certification. So as a refresher, DBE is Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and there's also Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, ACDBE, and they're a little bit different, but for a lot of the concepts, they are treated the same. And so this is one of those things. So these are programs through the U.S. Department of Transportation that help small businesses owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals gain opportunities to get on equal footing in government contracts. So there is a summary suspension um, issue there that could happen to you if you run into trouble with your DBE certification. Now, this is an extraordinary remedy, and it's really for compliance lapses that can affect your ability to participate in Department of Transportation funded contracts or concessions. So, a summary suspension is basically a your certification is temporarily revoked until we can go through the whole process and make it final. So that is not always the case. If your company is no longer eligible, there's a decertification process. So this is used when there's something big, something important, something really wrong. So this is, again, this is extraordinary relief, but it is there. So during that suspension period, you can't count towards any contract or participation goal for DBE or ACDBE programs. You're not going to be able to put in for a DBE contract. So it's kind of bad. So there's two types of the summary suspension. One is mandatory, one is elective. So the mandatory summary suspension comes when there is clear and credible evidence of you or your certifying agency. So it could be a state agency that certified you. Your involvement in fraud or serious criminal activity related to the DBE or ACDBE program. In this case, the DOT's operating administration, so like the federal government office that oversees the program, will tell your certifier that they must suspend your certification immediately. So if you have a mandatory summary suspension, you likely did something bad. It's very serious. You are in trouble. You should seek legal counsel, both for your business and for yourself personally, immediately. Now, an elective summary suspension occurs when your certifier decides, based on clear and credible evidence, that there's a threat to the integrity of the DBE or ACDB program that can't be resolved in a timely manner by other means. Um, so, for instance, if you fail to timely file your required documentation, your declaration of eligibility, your personal net worth statements, your certifier may suspend your certification at their discretion. So in either case, the suspension process is initiated when your certifier sends you electronic notice at your last known email address. So keep those emails up to date. The notice has to explain why, the consequences, the evidence for the suspension, and demand that you show cause why you should remain certified. Like kind of laying it all out there and say, okay, well, tell us based on all of this why we should still certify you. And they may also schedule a virtual hearing, a show cause hearing on a specific date and time where you can put on your case and be like, look, I was framed, or this was not me, or you're mistaking me for another company, or this was someone who committed a criminal act while in my employ and they have been fired and I'm pressing charges or whatnot, whatever the reason may be. And so that suspension, that summary suspension does remain in effect during the proceedings, but it can't be for more than 30 days. So this is going to move quickly. And so you can also appeal the final decision after that hearing of your certifier, but you can't get suspended and then just appeal the certification. You have to go through that final decision process. However, you can petition the DOT for an order to vacate your certifier's action if you can show that the suspension was arbitrary and capricious, which means just like willy-nilly, not really based on any advice. They just, someone called and gave them a tip and say, look, Danielle is really not the owner of that business. It's just a name only. It's really her husband running the company. If they give you summary suspension based on that, that would be, in my opinion, arbitrary and capricious, and that wouldn't be, sufficient evidence to cause that harm to your company. And also something to know that, and this is something we run into a lot, when the DOT, when your local certifier drags their feet, which we see a lot, takes a long time to get a decision out. So if they don't act within 30 days of your suspension notice on the final decision, then you can also petition the DOT to compel them to do their job. So that is something, that's some teeth there too, to help your business not be suspended for too long if it was wrongful. So, in summary, this suspension is a big problem for your business. It is something you should take very seriously. And if you wish to continue participating in the DBE or ACDBE program, you need to respond promptly. It would be very wise of you to obtain counsel. And so I hope that this is helpful, though I do hope that you don't find yourself in that situation. But if you do, at least you'll have a little more information. Thank you and see you next time.